Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. My name is Josh Hanum, co-founder and CEO at Interact. I'm joined by Steph Lantry, co-owner. I was going to say co-founder, but that would be far from the truth, which you'll find out about later. Co-owner of the White Eagle Resort. Very cool quiz that y'all have built. So I definitely want to hear about that. But let's just jump in there. Tell us about your quiz and how you decided to do it.
Yeah, so a few years ago, I developed a quiz specific to White Eagle Resort for guests to use to determine which cabin would be right for them. So we have cabins anywhere from 2 bedrooms all the way up to 7 bedrooms and a private island. So a lot of times our guests are really interested in staying on Lake Vermilion at our resort, but they don't know which cabin to select. So I have the quiz on a running header through my entire website. And it also has a pop-up on our cabin page, so that helps guests to better navigate as to which cabin is going to be right for them. So
That's really cool. And on the back end, like, is it using branching logic? Is it using correlations? Do you know like which scoring system you set up?
Mhm. Yeah, I used branching logic, which was super intuitive, user friendly. I'm not super techy, but it didn't feel intimidating in any way, shape, or form. It was it was pretty fun to set up because I was able to segment my audience into specific cabins and even ask a couple other little questions in there that had nothing to do with which cabin they're staying in, but just to kind of better understand the audience and the kind of people that I was looking at or who were looking at our quiz. So
That's really cool. I'm curious. What did you set the branches on? Like, what did you make as like the filters for deciding which cabin someone should get?
yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty simple on the back end.
Hmm.
I tried to see kind of their group size was a big part. So when somebody gives us a call, that's always our first question. What's your group size? And then we can kind of narrow down exactly which specific cabin would work for them. And we have several cabins that are the same size. So then I would take and have it be by location. For example, if you want to be do you want to be on site or do you want to be off site? Do you want to be near the lake or near the beach? Do you want to be in the woods or more in central activity? So then the people would kind of have a better idea of what cabin would suit them based upon their needs.
Yeah, that's cool. So you got like group size and then preferences around like where you want to be, what location you want to be in. That's really
Mhm.
cool. And then you do have like email capture set up in the quiz as
Yep.
well. Like, how are you handling the emails that come in? Like, what's the strategy there?
Yeah, so I set up on the back end through Flowdesk. So when somebody takes my quiz, they automatically have to give me the email at the end. And then that triggers a 5 email sequence. So I developed one for each of my cabins. So there's a total of 15 separate sequences, which they're pretty simple actually. They all have a different first page depending on which cabin they quiz into. But then after that, the other 4 emails of the sequence are the same and describe like a little intro of who we are as a family, how our resort started, why they might be a perfect fit at our business, and then a call to action to book. So I like to warm them up with a story about what is our business model and what is White Eagle and what they might experience here in a stay.
That's really cool. So you got like the nice warm up and the intro,
Mhm.
and I mean, it's all obviously very genuine because it's family business and it's just real stuff. But in marketing speak, it's all this, all those other things of like storytelling.
Yep.
Um, how has it been? Like, how have people told you that they've taken the quiz? Like, how is
Mhm.
the experience for like visitors to your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really fun because I have them all segmented in Flowdesk. So based upon which cabin size they're testing into. So then I can go back when we do get a reservation, type in their email and see if they took our quiz and see if they're actually booking the cabin that they tested into. And most of the time they are. So that's pretty fun to see. So people are using the quiz results as something to help guide and navigate which cabin they're going to book here when they arrive. So that's been pretty cool.
That's really awesome. This is a great
Mhm.
validation that you set up all the logic correctly too, because it's like, oh yeah, people are getting the right one.
Mhm.
Um, if we zoom out one layer, like where are people coming from when they land on your website? Like, what are your marketing like strategies?
Yeah, so a lot of people are actually finding us via Google search still. So our lake, we are in the land of 10,000 lakes, Minnesota, and Lake
Hmm.
Vermilion, which is the lake we're on, has been consistently rated one of the top 5 lakes in Minnesota. So it's a Canadian Shield Lake with the natural rocky shorelines, 40,000 acres, 365 islands, majestic sunsets, which is the namesake of Vermilion, that sunset glow. So a lot of people honestly are just searching like Lake Vermilion. You want to come up, you want to go fishing. It's a Midwest family tradition of going up to the lake for the summer. And I feel like that's where we're getting most people from. And then they're seeing our website, which I've done a lot of work on creating a website as well as a social media presence on Instagram mainly to help capture new clients. And so then they're able to identify themselves as a potential customer here in the future, just by using our website really, and Interact is on there because we use the quiz, so it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. I love that it's like, there's so much talk now with AI and I mean, obviously social media for years. Everyone's like, oh, you don't need Google, you don't need websites, but like a lot of times it's still the backbone of a lot of things. Um, what's your website built on? Are you using WordPress or Squarespace or something?
I'm using Show It, and
Oh,
I
nice.
really love it. So I think at the back end it is on GoDaddy. It's like the where it's coming from. I don't know the host, but yeah, I love
Yeah.
Show It. It's just been awesome as a platform for me.
Yeah. We will completely agree with that. And they're just great people over there too. I've met a lot of them.
Yes.
Really
Well,
good
super
humans.
intuitive.
I show it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Who would have thought? Like just a simple, nice looking website goes a long ways. Goes a long
Mhm.
ways. Um, yeah, I mean, this is such a cool setup to me because like on the surface, and I said this before we hit record, but like it makes so much sense to just be like, oh, which cabin would make sense for you to stay in, and I completely saw that experience or the need for that experience as I was clicking around on the website because the cabins are also unique that you have to
Mhm.
offer. And
Mhm.
so as I'm coming in, I could either like look through all of them or
Mhm.
take the quiz. And you had mentioned that you heard about the idea initially from Jenna Kutcher.
Mhm.
Um, but how did you connect the dots there? Because the idea of using a quiz in like the online like coaching industry is a bit different than recommending cabins. Like, what was that like? Had you already thought about the idea of using something like a quiz or a personalization tool to like recommend cabins, and that was just like the perfect solution? Or was it, where did that come from? How did that all come together?
Honestly, I had never thought of a quiz, and I didn't even know how a quiz would apply to me. I had to hear the idea a few times before I finally clicked, and I thought, okay, it's working as a lead magnet for a lot of other people. Could it work as a lead magnet for me and my business? So initially, I was going to do a quiz like, what cabin is your personality style? Or something like
Mhm.
more of generalized to vacation style or something in that way. But then I started playing around with it on the back end and looking at the branching logic, and then it just kind of clicked. Like, hey, if I was looking at this as a busy mom of 3 kids and a business owner, how could I identify myself as a guest at this space and really decide which cabin is going to be right for me? And also at that time my husband and I were fielding a lot of phone calls and inquiries, and everybody was asking the same questions, so then we could identify patterns that would apply to the quiz and really make it more specific and niche down to our business model. And honestly, it's been so amazing because we have been able on the back end to identify what kind of cabins people are looking for. So I didn't think, we are so busy with large cabins. That's our niche. We do large intergenerational family vacations. Most of our guests have been coming for a long time, greater than 10 years, some as many as 80 years, because our resort's 110 years old. So,
Yeah.
but what we found is a lot of people that have been taking our quiz are looking for a 2-bedroom cabin, which just blew my mind. I was super surprised. So it helped inform our decisions moving forward into what kind of builds we're going to be doing next, what kind of properties we're going to be looking for, and how we're going to renovate. Because every year we do major renovations to this place, whether it be ripping a cabin down, building a new cabin, or changing the layout or floor plan or decor inside. So we're definitely focusing more on our 2 bedrooms than we had in the past, which was informed by the quiz, and it's been really fun to see that. Also, we saw a lot of interest in one of our offsites, which is a private island. So I think a lot of people quiz into that because it just sounds really cool. But yeah, and I can use that data and segment on the back end to email market to those people specifically when I have openings. So the way our cabin bookings work is that when people leave, they have the first opportunity to book their same cabin for the same week the following year. If they don't
Hmm.
rebook, which about 80% do, but if they don't, I use Flowdesk and develop an email that goes out to a list of people, and I include all the segmented populations from my quiz to send out, hey, your cabin opened up for XYZ dates. Are you interested in booking? And we get a lot of bookings from that. It's been fantastic because people aren't being marketed just a generic email. It's specific to a cabin that they had identified as something that was right for them already. So,
That's really great. That's super smart. I mean, like
mhm.
as a everything that you're saying to me, I think like the word, and maybe you have a different word, but the word that comes to mind for me is just like automation. Like it's just
Mhm.
automating a lot of tasks,
Mhm.
all the way from like people call in and have the same questions over and over again, so you can help with that, to if you wanted to manually do what you're talking about of like when a cabin opens up, send that out. That would be something that you'd have to do every time, and that would
Mhm.
take a certain amount of time. And obviously, you got a lot to manage with the all the cabins and like everything to run the place. Like you don't want to be doing that all the time. So it makes a ton of sense. That's really smart. So are you using that data from the quiz to then think about or plan new builds or actually change current builds, like the 2 bedroom example? That that's an interesting one. I wonder if that's almost like a generational thing, or I don't know what that is. I don't know what the reasoning is,
Mhm.
but like the fact that people are asking for that, will you then take that and potentially build a 2 bedroom in the future?
Yeah. It's pretty funny because we actually had to rip a 2 bedroom down this last spring. So I was like,
Oh.
no, look at the potential. But it was a really old build and it was time.
Mhm.
We are going to do a total renovation and then had some issues. So, yeah, it's definitely something we looked at. And when we started doing new plans and getting a rebuild permit, that we decided it's going to be a 2 bedroom in the future, which we were looking at building something bigger because that's what normally books for us. So it was really interesting to see that. And then we're going to do a huge renovation to one of our 2 bedrooms. It's like a 1940s build this winter. So super fun. And it usually turns out where people will come up here just as a couple the first time, check out the place, and then they're like, I want to bring my whole family back, and then they can rent a different cabin. So to us, our 2 bedrooms are really a handshake or introduction to who we are as a resort, what you're going to have. So we really want to put our best foot forward there. And honestly, want to put our best foot forward in all of our cabins, and it's just been really fun to see who is looking at these cabins, who's looking at our resort, who's interested, and then go from there to make decisions.
Yeah, that I mean everybody calls that like zero party data or like own data now, or like in a cookie-less world or whatever. It's like when it's harder now, I think for the better, it's harder to like track people who are on your website or to understand who they are and what they want. Then if you can just ask, then they can tell you. And that's like so smart.
Right. And we're capturing people we may not have captured before because maybe they're not somebody who was comfortable making an inquiry initially, or maybe they weren't serious enough to take that next step to make a phone call. But a quiz just feels like a less pressured option, especially when it has a pop up on the site in the cabin page where they're already looking, they're already interested. And it just feels like the next best step, maybe for someone who's just not quite sure yet and they're not quite ready to make that commitment. And for me, it gives me the opportunity to really show up in their inbox and to collect their emails so I can continue to nurture them as a potential guest for the future. So, what's really funny is we have our story out there, and people come now to White Eagle and they know who we are. They know our story. They know that my husband grew up here since he was 6 years old. And they call and they're like, "Are you Tom Lantry? Like, he's some sort of celebrity." And it's just so funny. He's like, "Oh, they must have took the quiz or they read their email or something like that." And it's just such a fun experience. And some of the people from older generations, I guess I'll say, or aged people who are just experiencing the internet in a different way than we grew up with, think that these emails, I'm writing them in real time. So that's been
Hmm.
really sweet too, to get those responses. And they're like, "Oh, thank you, Stephanie, for taking the time." And then they feel kind of guilty. And I'm like, "No, this is an automated email, but I'm glad you really appreciated that and that it really meant something to you." So it's pretty fun, just to see those responses and how people are receiving that.
Yeah, I love that because I mean, we when we started the company, we wanted it to be a way for people to be able to connect better, and
Yeah.
I think your story is perfect because it's like you just don't have time to like have a
Mhm.
conversation with every single person that comes to the website and is interested, and even if they were to call in, you don't have time for that either. But you can recreate some of that magic, and it sounds like you've
Mhm.
absolutely nailed that, where it's like it still has that kind of magical experience of like you get to learn about me and the resort and the family and Tom, and I get to learn about you, and then I can give you value by recommending something, and you can give me value by booking a place, and it's just like a great human connection, like genuinely.
Yes, and I think we're lacking that so much in this world right now, especially with like a trust recession and the use of AI, even in
Yeah.
responses to emails and those types of things. I think just a human touch goes a long way, and telling your story and really connecting with those people and having them be seeing themselves in you and seeing your what you're doing here and just being a part of the magic is really, really special because then we can identify the right people for us too. Because maybe we're not for everybody. I mean, I know we're not for everybody. There's mosquitoes up here, sometimes a spider. But honestly, I mean, the woods are the best place, I think. So it's really fun to identify which people are right for us and go from there and make sure that they have a really good experience when they do come up here and book and know what they're getting into and know that they're a good fit for us and what we do here.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, like, I think that's also just part of the authenticity of connection,
Mhm.
right? It's like
Mhm.
being honest about that stuff. And like, that is one of the things that the AI has caught some flack for is that it always tells you something positive, even if it
Mm.
really shouldn't be a positive. Like, it would spin the mosquitoes in some sort of positive way where it's like, it's not,
Right.
if you're not cool with that, like don't do this. But if you love the outdoors and you enjoy being in nature, then you
Mhm.
know that there's some things that are a little annoying that you might have to deal with,
Mhm.
and you're fine with that. And that's the kind of the I don't know the mutual agreement that you enter into as collaborative people, and it's really cool that you've been able to pull that off with the way that interaction goes through the quiz and asking the questions and letting people state their preferences and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing I wanted to say about the quiz is it helps me be really specific with the kind of marketing that I'm doing and the emails that I'm sending out. So I'm getting results, right? So I feel like when you put out a diluted email or a diluted call to action, you get diluted results, and you're not getting really anything or anything specific. So it's been pretty awesome in that way too, to just really niche down my population and the people who are going to be right for this place. And that's been pretty fantastic, because I think about my in-laws who bought this place in 1989, and they didn't have these types of things. They were using pamphlets as marketing. Every once in a while we'll still have people call and want a pamphlet. We just don't do that anymore. And so so to be able to integrate things like quizzes, email sequence marketing, fantastic websites, social media, there's all these places we can show up, and it really is a whole experience. I think of it as we have an entire experience of a place before we even arrive, or before we even become a customer. And what is that experience? And the quiz helps to deliver that. The website, the social media presence, the email marketing, these are all part that make the whole of the experience. And I would argue maybe even half, because people are developing what they expect the experience to be like before they even arrive. And that's half the fun too for me, because that's what I'm in charge of in this business.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly, you described that perfectly. Like, that's what marketing should be. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
should be an opportunity for somebody to step in a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
not fully, but like to some
Right.
extent, to experience what it's like to stay at a resort, or to buy a product, or whatever it is, whatever experience you're trying to create, or whatever you're selling on the back end. And if you're able to actually do that, then it just makes it a smoother experience all the way through. And like you said, you're talking to the right people. So that's like, I think it's really nice, and I appreciate that you're bringing this into a business that was started in 1915. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really, really cool, and you can see it through the generations how it's evolved, and it's not evolving in like oh, now we're using technology to try to, like, I don't know, make as much money as possible and not care about the people. It's like, no, no, no. The
Mm-hmm.
technology is like facilitating a better experience for people. I think that's very commendable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a 110-year-old business. So not a lot of people are operating, not a lot of 100-year-old businesses even exist anymore in the United States, especially businesses that have been handed down to a second generation. I believe it's about 12% of family businesses survive that transition. So we're
Wow.
pretty unique in that way, and we really want to keep connecting with our core people who have helped this business survive over the last 110 years, and that's families who come to the lake and keep coming because they believe in this place and the connections and memories that this place gives them. So it's fun to integrate technology in a way that doesn't feel, just in a way that feels authentic, in a way that doesn't feel AI or disconnected or sterile. It feels really good and warm and close. And I feel like the only way that we can continue to operate this business for another 100 years is, well, I'm not going to be around, but my kids will be, is to keep adapting these new technologies and making them work for us, and making them work in a way that makes sense for us. And for each business, that's going to be different. And I think if you can use a quiz in a way that's going to work for your business, and even develop something using the branching logic to help to identify your potential customers, how cool. And do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, I'm fully in agreement with you on that, and I think that's like a perfect thing to leave people with, was just like chewing on that. And I think it's every part of technology, whether it's the quiz or any of the other elements. It's like, how does it work in your business? Thanks so much for sharing this whole story with us, and just painting such a clear picture of how this all integrates into your business. I think is super valuable. Where can people go to check out the resort, take the quiz if they're interested? Even if they're not in the area, I'm sure people will be like, now I want to go take this and see what this is all about. Where can they go to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's www.whiteeagleresort.com. And our quiz is the running header of every single page on our website. And if you go to our cabin page, it will pop up. So you will be able to take it from there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Steph. This was amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh, for having me. I really appreciate you for taking the time to interview me today.
Of course. Of course. All right.